Welcome back to Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. We are speaking today with Mary Vanek, mom from School District 15. And Mary, what were we talking about during the break and the levels of bonds and things like that?
Well, we were talking about why it was that the school board was able to make a decision to borrow this much money, because $27 million is a pretty good sum, without taxpayer approval. And basically, it's controlled by the law of the state of Illinois, which says that school districts can borrow X amount of dollars or have a certain debt ratio. If they go over that amount, they would have to come to the public and ask and put it to a vote in a referendum. But if they stay under that amount, they can borrow.
Mary, with this debt level, how does this impact the community and their ability for their bond rating to borrow other money in the area?
Well, it can affect the bond rating because, obviously, like if you are maxed out on all your credit cards, you're probably not going to get any more credit, right? Mm-hmm. And your credit rating is probably going to go down. And likewise, if the school district has too much debt on its books, its rating can go down, and not just the district, but the entire an entire area, like Palatine Township.
Would it affect the fire department and their park district and things like that?
It's possible. And at the time, I know that the village manager of Palatine was concerned that it would affect the rating, and then he did some more research and found out that because everybody else didn't have so much debt, that overall it would be okay. You have to take everything into account.
Here's what bothers me about this whole thing. Our elected officials that the people elected into office got into cahoots with the unions and gave them a way to dip into our pockets without us having the ability to say yay or nay.
Well, and this is a law that's in place because of this.
Let me put my oar in the water right here, because what Mike just said is the really big, immense problem of the whole school system. And that is that the union actually runs everything. The IEA, the Illinois Miseducation Society, those guys run the whole place because they have the money. They take from $500 to $1,000 dues from every teacher. In the district I'm in Barrington, there's well over $100,000 a year that the teachers give to the union. 80% of that goes into political work. Only 20% goes to the job. That startling fact has been cleared all the way through the U.S. Supreme Court in the Beck decision. So 80% of the teachers' dues goes to the stinking IEA union, and the union is the worst enemy the teachers have got, because it is what has corrupted the politics. I'm not accusing them of a felony, but what they're doing is as if it were a felony. And it's terrible what they've done to the taxpayer. And if you want to get elected to a school board, what you got to do is come up against the tremendous political power of the union, which has taken 80% of the dues from the teachers and stuffed it into politics, both local and with Madigan downstate. And with that much money, go ahead, just try to get elected to a school board if you've got opinions like Miss Vanek here. They don't want you on the school board.
Well, I know that firsthand. Because I did run for the school board and I didn't get elected. But.
Yeah, well, that's about the hardest thing to get elected to in the whole state of Illinois. And the people that are on the school board are generally, the large majority, almost all, are sympathetic to the goals of the teachers union. There's a big racket going on, and the pensions that the managers of the school district have got, I would bet the ranch that the superintendent, the last superintendent of District 15, has got a pension of over $200,000 a year that will go up 3% a year.
We could look at family taxpayer.
Anybody want to challenge me? I'll bet $1,000 on it, just right up front, because it's common. That's happening all over the state. So it's very hard to get people on the school board that actually represent the interests of the parents and the taxpayer of the district. What you did is phenomenal.
What you did. Now, are you a community organizer, Mary?
Oh, yeah, right. No, not exactly. I've never done anything like this before.
So you've never done anything like this before?
No. Well, I mean, I ran for school board. That was my big foray into, being a public figure of sorts, or really getting involved in anything political. That's the first time I ever did. So But you do what you have to do, and like I said before, and I can't say it enough. It's not something you do yourself. It's not something you do in a vacuum. Just an incredible group of people. I mean, when the whole thing was over, we realized we had 165 volunteers that went out and got signatures and brought them in. Now, some people brought in a page with 10 signatures. One gal got about 250 signatures
What
or
about the
something
one
like
gal
that.
that got 700 and some, and they kept challenging?
Well,
Because there was a petition challenge too.
okay, that was round two. So after we did our meetings and our letters to the editor and just getting the word out there, sign the petition, going to public places and getting chased off of public places, and it wasn't easy. We had
You brought a lot of community. What I'm hearing is you brought a lot of community awareness.
Right.
You were messaging with your local blogs, with your local newspapers.
We set up a website. We did we had some flyers done. I don't think we did any mailings. I don't think we had the money for that.
Let me put my oar in again. There's a lot of motivation for the people that are involved in salaries in the school system. There's a lot of motivation for them to do this. And the taxpayers should realize that about over 80% of the taxes that go into the schools are going into salaries. And the pensions got so huge, with the union running it and these managers of the whole thing, they just rose the cost of the pensions so much that in 1995, the payment for that got passed on to the state. It got beyond what the local taxpayers could do. So the salaries are still enough to be 85% of the total taxes.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, this is all about the big money that's going into pensions and salaries for the people at the upper end, the ones that are manipulating the system and are putting their friends on the... this is a big collusion thing between the union and the people that have learned how to milk the big salaries and pensions of the teaching system. That's why it costs $16,000 per child. Apply statewide, that's the average. Apply that to a classroom of 30 kids. You're close to $500,000 going into one classroom of kids. How do you spend that much money? Now, this thing is the biggest sinkhole for money that we've got in the whole system. It's bankrupting the state.
Well, apparently it's quite easy to spend that kind of money because they do it all the time.
See, that they've developed a monopoly within a monopoly. Not only have they turned our elected politicians into prostitutes, but they've actually gone to the school board level and those elected officials that are supposed to represent the community. They're installing their own folks. A lot of people don't realize that there is nobody on these school boards that actually represent the taxpayers in that community.
Well, that's right, because they're smart. They know what to do. They know how to take the system over from the bottom up, top down, but it's citizens like Mary. Go ahead, Mary.
Well, I just want to say that at least on District 15, I can assure you that there's at least 4 school board members now that I think it's safe to say that do think about the taxpayer, that are fiscally responsible. And, so I feel confident in saying that. I feel hopeful. We have some teachers' contract negotiations coming up in the spring and summer, and we'll see how things shake out. But I feel better about this board than I felt about the previous board.
But can I just say something? You say now.
Yeah.
Because back in 2010, this bond referendum, this backdoor referendum with all the petitions, you had the community made a lot of public awareness. Last year in March, there was a school board election.
Yes.
So there was an opportunity that the public already knew that there was a situation and a problem with this school board, which brought them to and engaged them into voting better people in.
Yeah.
There were 3 new school board members last year that were elected.
You actually elected 3 to the board.
3 new ones to the board. And
Clearly,
there's 7 members on the board, but
well, there was one
there's already
person
one.
that was not for all this deficit spending that District 15
if you get
was
3
doing.
good people on the board, often you can find one from the other 4 that'll go along with you. It takes at least 3. Being alone on the board is the most frustrating
yes. No.
thing in the world.
Yeah, obviously. But I think that the bond issue and then winning the referendum by a 2-to-1 margin in November laid the foundation for a successful campaign in April to get some people in there who are fiscally conservative and responsible.
Ladies
Thanks
and gentlemen,
to people
listen
like
to this.
Mary.
Yes.
Thanks to people like Mary, we are taking back our school boards.
Yes.
Well, we're trying.